Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into the news from May 21st, 2025, trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, we've got reports from, well, all over politics, the economy, international trade, even social movements happening right now.
Exactly. And the goal here for you listening is to connect those dots, to give you a clear picture without you having to sift through everything yourself. It's sort of a shortcut to being informed.
A clearer view, definitely. So where should we kick things off?
Okay, let's get right into it. The political scene first. President Trump's administration looks like some significant policy moves recently.
Oh, absolutely. A major one is these new tariffs. The idea, reportedly, is to boost American industries.
Right, protectionism. We've seen that before, haven't we?
We have. And, historically, it's a mixed bag. Sometimes certain sectors get a lift, sure, but often consumers end up paying more.
And other countries hit back, right, with their own tariffs.
Exactly, which can hurt U.S. exports. So it's this big question. Do the benefits actually outweigh those potential downsides, especially now with everything so globally connected?
And it's not just the economic policies causing ripples. There's a lot of public reaction, too.
Yeah.
Protests.
Yes, quite widespread protests. It seems focused on how the administration is handling things like labor rights and also immigration policies.
What's driving that, do you think? The scale seems pretty large.
Well, the fact that it is so widespread
Mm.
and covering multiple issues, labor, immigration, civil liberties, suggests it's maybe a deeper dissatisfaction, not just a single complaint.
So a broader concern about the general direction of things.
Potentially, yeah. It could signal, a more organized and maybe sustained kind of public engagement than we sometimes see.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The economy. The picture there seems, well, a little worrying maybe. Talk of contraction,
Yeah, that's the word being used, contraction. Basically, it means the economy shrinking, not growing.
which isn't good news for jobs, usually.
No, unfortunately. It often means less production, fewer services, and potentially, yes, job losses. And you can sort of see the nervousness in the stock market.
How so?
Well, there's a lot of volatility, big swings up and down, especially, it seems, in companies that rely heavily on international trade.
Because of the tariffs and trade uncertainty?
Precisely. Investors are reacting to that uncertainty, worrying about how these trade policies might mess up global supply chains, the complex ways companies make and move goods around the world.
So the trade situation is directly hitting investor confidence, and that feeds back into the broader economic picture, this contraction.
It's definitely a key factor. And it's not just Wall Street feeling anxious. We're also seeing a dip in consumer confidence.
Meaning everyday people are worried.
Seems like it. If people are apprehensive about prices going up or about their job security, they tend to hold back on spending.
Right. Makes you think how these big headlines actually filter down into, well, your own wallet, doesn't it?
Absolutely. These aren't just abstract numbers. They reflect real anxieties.
Let's dig a bit deeper on those trade policies then. It's not just talk anymore. The U.S. has actually put new tariffs on specific countries.
Yes, the reports mention China, Canada, and Mexico specifically. New tariffs on goods coming from those countries.
And are they just accepting it?
Oh, no, not at all. They've retaliated, hitting back with their own tariffs on American products.
So it's like a tit for tat tariff escalation. What does that usually lead to?
Well, it's not great. This kind of back and forth disrupts global markets, makes it really hard for businesses to plan ahead.
Creates a lot of
A
uncertainty.
huge amount. And it raises these bigger worries about, long-term economic stability across the board. It really just underlines how tangled up the global economy is. One move here can send ripples everywhere.
Okay, so we've got these big policy changes, economic jitters, trade tensions, and the public is definitely noticing. You mentioned protests earlier, but there's this specific 5501 movement.
Yes, that seems to be a major organizing force behind the recent wave of demonstrations.
What are they focused on?
Their platform seems pretty broad, actually. Advocating for labor rights, pushing for immigration reform, and also emphasizing the protection of civil liberties. The fact that they've organized events in all 50 states is, well, it's significant.
50 states. Wow, that says something about the level of mobilization, doesn't it? It's not just a few cities.
Exactly. It points towards, a really widespread public concern. It's a clear signal, really, a demand for policy changes on those specific issues.
Makes you consider the power of, well, collective action when it reaches that kind of scale.
It certainly does. It shows how diverse viewpoints coming together can really shape the national conversation, maybe even influence policy down the line.
Right. Now, of course, life goes on and other things happen on any given day. What else was significant on May 21st? Any other major headlines?
Well, sadly, yes. There was some tragic news. Severe weather storms, tornadoes hit Kentucky and Missouri really hard.
Oh,
You know,
no.
reports indicate over 20 people lost their lives. It's just a terrible reminder of, nature's power and how vulnerable communities can be.
Absolutely awful news. And on a different note entirely, something big in the business world.
Yes, a major development in telecommunications. Charter Communications is merging with Cox Communications.
That sounds like a huge deal.
It is. We're talking about a $34.5 billion merger. It really highlights how dynamic these big industries are, constantly shifting and consolidating.
Yeah?
These kinds of deals can really change the landscape for consumers, too.
So, quite a day. We've covered politics, the economy, trade wars, protests, natural disasters, huge corporate mergers. When you step back and look at all of it together, what are the main threads connecting these things?
I think the biggest takeaway is just how deeply interconnected everything is. A political decision like imposing tariffs doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right, it immediately impacts the economy.
And the economic impact, whether it's market volatility or consumer anxiety, can then fuel public responses, like the protests we discussed.
And it all plays out internationally, affecting trade relationships.
Exactly. It's like a complex web. You pull one thread, and lots of other parts move. You can't really understand one piece without seeing how it connects to the others.
It definitely feels like looking at it this way, digging in like this, gives you a much richer picture than just, scanning headlines quickly.
Oh, absolutely. You start to see the underlying currents, the cause and effect, the dynamic shaping things. It's a much deeper understanding.
So, a final thought then for everyone listening. As you've heard about all this, the trade issues, the economic worries, the social movements, even the unexpected events like storms, what do you think is the single biggest underlying factor driving things right now? What's the main current shaping this landscape on May 21st, 2025?
And maybe what could the long-term effects of that factor be?
Yeah, that's a big question. Something to chew on. We definitely encourage you to keep thinking about these connections and forming your own views as these situations continue to develop.